So now you've become successful at inventing. I still am not 100% clear. Like you built a business, you sold a business, you became a lawyer, you built a business, you sold a business, you got involved in the World Series of Poker, and you did very well with that. And then you said, you know what, I want to invent, and I really want to. Your wife must have thought you were nuts.
Well, first of all, it wasn't like I said, I want to invent. It wasn't quite like that. It was more of, it just kind of happened naturally.
Sure.
And a friend of mine and I were talking about the first one, and we came up with the idea, and we said, let's pursue it. And I wasn't just doing that. You know, I was doing some of my other things, and I still do contracts for other people and things like that as a lawyer.
If you put a squeaker in here, it'd be a great dog toy.
Great dog toy.
I think the dog could eat the foxtail.
Yeah. Not bad. That's lucky.
Yeah, that is lucky. Yeah. All right, so so you get into it, and when you say, "Honey," or kids, I've got the on-hand pillow. They don't say, "Dad, that's nuts," or "How are you going to bring this to market?" Go back to distributing television.
My kids love my stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, that's genius. That's brilliant. I'm like, you guys are easy.
Do they use it?
I wish. Yeah, of course.
Wow, that's pretty cool. All right, so then you decide you're successful at this, and you decide I want to give back, which is I like, and I know that about you. You want to give back, and we're very much the same way. We're all about paying it forward. We do the Infocom show, where all we do is teach people how to do what we're doing. Man, maybe I pulled the curtain back too far, and I'm going to have all this competition now. We're going to have we could have the terrific army. We could have all these little satellite terrifics broadcasting live. All right, we're going to show them everything. Kevin, get the Kevin camera back up. All right, so you say, I want to coach, and you start coaching people, and now that's really what you're doing with your blog, is you're letting people know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and you're also then coaching people, and you're really coaching them, like on the phone, on the computer, FaceTime, giving them advice. Are you taking a cut of each one of these things, or are you just doing this out of the kindness of your heart?
No. Well, so let's back up a second. Yeah. So I have my blog, and I'm doing all my stuff, my inventing, and I'm showing, and I'm trying to teach people, and there is coaching going on, and I am available to coach. Typically, listen, if someone comes to me with an idea and they say, hey, do you want to partner on this? I might do it.
Sure.
More often than not, I'll try and just help them by putting them in touch with the right people and things like that. And in those cases, I'm not taking a cut or anything like that. And there are people I'm coaching and literally getting paid by the hour to coach people. And I'm also involved with a company who I actually took the course of this. It's called InventRight is the name of the company. And Stephen Key I read his book. After I had licensed a couple of my products, I read this. It's actually a crazy story. I read this guy's book, and it was about licensing. And I read the book, and I loved it. I thought it was a great book. And he's a really good guy and a very smart guy. And I wrote him an email. His email is in the book. And I wrote him an email saying, I just want to tell you, I really enjoyed your book. Thanks for writing it. I just licensed a couple of products unwittingly using your kind of method of doing it, of licensing it. So I just wanted to tell you about it and say thanks. An hour later, my phone rings, and it's him.
Wow.
Yeah, because my phone number was on the email, and in my signature, and we had a great conversation, and I ended up kind of going through the InventRight way and working with him. So now I'm involved with InventRight also.
Very nice.
And kind of doing coaching with them, and I have many students.
It's so important, though, I think, that people know that exists and can find out, because, again, I had an idea very similar to this, and I had no idea what to do.
Right.
And if I had known you and you didn't have this idea, I could have said, hey, Howie, coach me. Well, first of all, do you think that I got any legs here? And you would say, well, from my experience, based on this, you might have something. Let's talk to the right people. And you would coach me through the process. It's genius. I'm serious. So we got to talk about this idea I have for men's dress socks right after this. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm serious, though. I mean, that is, and so how do people just go to howieinvent.com and they can find out more? They can read the blog. They can find out a lot of these stories that we've talked about here today, too.
Right. Yeah. And if they sign up to get the blog sent to them, which they should, they'll also get, like I have a download for them to give you kind of the steps of inventing to license.
Very cool.
And I'll show, it's actually kind of cool. It has a couple of my sell sheets in there. The sell sheets are what I use to send to a potential licensee to see if they like the product. It has that in that download.
I like that you're kind of giving everybody the tools. You're really pulling the curtain back.
Right.
And you're not afraid. I like that. I'm the same way. I'm like, you know what? This is how we do it. You want to do it? Go ahead.
Well, I want, you know what?
I want to help you.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
And if more companies want
Did people
more
help
products,
you
it's great.
along the way?
Yeah, well, certainly Stephen Key is one of them. And yeah, throughout my life, of course, there's always people.
And so that's for me too. Like, I didn't just show up here and build a studio.
Right.
I had people who helped me along the way, and if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. And I always look to pay it forward.
Right, absolutely.
HowieInvent.com. HowieInvent.com. You get it? It's like how
right,
we
it's
invent.
HOWIE.
Right. How we invent.
You know why? You know where I came up with? Because people always said to me as a joke, when I was younger, "How we doing?"
Yeah.
Or how are you?
That's such an awful
right?
joke.
So yeah, so it became How We Invent.
That's hilarious. That's a funny thing, but it's such a terrible joke.
Terrible.
Yeah. I met.
But I've heard it a lot. So
I met somebody on a project a couple weeks ago named Desiree, and I said, "Does everybody walk up to you and go, you got to be bad, you got to be bold, you got to be stronger?" She was like, "My whole life." That's the Desiree song from the '90s. That was popular.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, everybody walks
You're
up there
a
and
true
says,
Renaissance man.
"Am I?"
I guess.
I guess.
You
I
seem
don't know.
to have knowledge about a lot of different things.
Thank you. I take that as a huge compliment.
You should.
I really, yeah. I'm about the height of Danny DeVito. I could play the part in the remake. Kevin, any more questions from our wonderful viewers, the Terrifics, or from you over in maybe the extender in San Diego, California? California. I always do that when I talk about
Do a little Arnold?
Yes. I want you to know I really like this pillow. Isn't it puny? Isn't it perfect? And there's that one scene in Pumping Iron I just can't get over. I recently watched Pumping Iron again.
I haven't seen that in forever.
And I'm like, how did this guy get elected governor? It's about how he's talking about how he has, how the gym makes him feel.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, how was this guy ever elected governor? If I did a radio show,
Well, listen,
I would play that
everybody,
soundbite
go
all
back
day
then.
long.
Go
I
back
know.
then. We've all said stuff, done
Right,
stuff.
of course.
Yeah.
Yes, I want you to know. Come with me. Come with me if you want to live. Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little selfish here.
He's going to be a little selfish.
I want to ask for
He wants to ask you a question.
Who, Kevin?
Kevin, I should have given you a headset.
Yeah, I can hear him.
I know. I'm going to translate.
All right. Well, the
You speak
question
Kevin?
is, earlier,
Yes,
Howie
speak Kevin.
mentioned how people allow things, whether it be time or energy or whatever the case may be, hold them back from pursuing things. Is that something that you're born with, or is that something that you develop over experience and time?
Wow, that's a good question. He said that you mentioned earlier that people limit themselves because of time, or they feel they're inferior. They don't, they just don't go 100% in. They dip a toe in, or they go, hey, I got this idea, and they let things get in the way. Is that something you're born with, the instinct to just push on and persevere, or is it something that's kind of learned? I can answer that too, I think, a little, but
I think you
not
can.
from the inventing standpoint. But
I would say I think it's like anything. I think certain people are more prone to give up easier, and certain people are more prone to fight through things. But from an inventing standpoint, you can certainly fight through it. And that's why, to be honest with you, coaching is really valuable. I look at it like when I'm coaching somebody, it's almost like a trainer at the gym, right? So personally, when I go to the gym, if I don't have my trainer, I tend to slack off. When I have my trainer, meaning like I'll go
You
months
might even
at
take
a
a day
time.
off.
I'll go months at a time. If I'm like, let's say I don't want to go training anymore, I'll say I just need to clear my head. I'll say I'll just do it at home. I don't. Right. When I have the accountability of my trainer, I do. And it's the same thing with inventing, because you have somebody who's done it already, who can teach you the steps, and when you have that self-doubt, can push you a little bit.
well, it can also tell you where you are.
Sure.
And so I think it's really, really important, and to have somebody kind of, even as a soundboard. But I will tell you, I think it's a combination. I agree. I think you have to be born with this innate ability to keep your legs moving, to never stop, right? On the other hand, I really think it's what you're made up of. In life, no matter what you're doing or what you're talking about, people will tell you, no, you're not good enough, it's not going to work, all this stuff. Certain people will push through and will fight, whether it's right or wrong, as long as they believe in it, they'll keep pursuing it. And they'll succeed because of that. And other people will go, oh, that guy's right, I'll fold. And they let people tell them it's not right. And I've seen it time and time again. I had this business series for the Daily, and I realized that some of these people that I followed who had amazing success stories, literally it didn't matter what the product was,
Right.
They could have literally sold. They went they all start out like door to door selling, here, I'd like you to buy this, or I'd like you to stock this in your
like
store.
Mark Cuban always talks about.
Right. And when you get no, you could then go, oh, well, that guy didn't want it, and fold up and walk away. But these people, it didn't matter what they were selling. They could have sold anything, and they never took no. They just moved on to the next guy. And that's what helped inspire me for Be Terrific, and made me realize, what am I waiting for? And also is what you need to have. You need to pursue, and you need to keep going. And I think that it's great advice to never say no. If you really believe in something, if you're committed and passionate enough about it. And with Be Terrific, I mean, I've done many things where I never stop pursuing. It's kind of my makeup. But I don't know that I would have ever started if I didn't experience how these entrepreneurs were selling, because here I have to sell the ads, and that's the one thing I don't want to do.
Right. But I'll tell you, and I think I've said this to you in the past, I'm a big believer, and I didn't used to be. Yeah. I can get myself stuck on trying to get my sell sheet or get my product or prototype perfect. And I think perfect is a big problem. And like, I'm a big fan of action over perfection.
Well, and so I learned that in the news world, right? And so I actually feel like I'm past that. You know, I'm not I used to be, and I'd like everything to be perfect, but I feel that something is better than nothing.
Right, and moving forward
right.
is better than standing still and waiting for that person to get you the thing that you're waiting for. Keep moving forward.
Right, I give it a time limit, like I'm willing to wait for you until I decide I'm not willing to wait anymore. And I don't even need to pick up the phone and say I can't wait for you anymore. I've already moved on.
Right.
So I think that's very important.
But you know, I want to say one thing. You would add, I guess, back to the question a little bit. It's kind of interesting. You know, whether you have it in you or you don't have it in you, I will tell you, the students that I do have, they range from literally having almost like no money and no resources and no connections and nothing, and to I have, you know, some students who are, you know, multimillionaires who've sold a bunch of businesses, and they're relying on me to kind of help pull them through. So yes, the ones who kind of have that drive, it's a little easier. You know, you give them direction and they go. Some of them you have to pull them a little more, but even if they don't have it in them innately, you can get them there.
Do the millionaires, do the people who are wealthier usually have less drive and determination? Are they less hungry?
No.
I didn't think so. They're almost more hungry sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, every situation's different.
Do you ever worry about giving them the wrong advice, especially when there's so much on the line?
No, because, I mean, I guess I would say my reason I'm saying no is because I'm teaching them more about a process than anything. So when they say to me in my first conversation with any student I have, I say, look, it doesn't matter. I may love your product, I may hate your product. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Because what I think means nothing. I may know your industry, I may not know your industry. If I know it, I may have a better, insight into it, say it's not a good product for that industry because of this or that. But typically speaking, I say to them, it doesn't matter, because I have my own products, some that I've loved, one I even told you about, that I thought should be on store shelves and isn't. So what do I know? Like I'm right sometimes, I'm wrong sometimes, just like most people are. So I'm not saying, I could be wrong if I said you have the greatest product in the world and then no one buys it, then I'm worried about being wrong.
Sure.
But if I'm teaching them the process of how to license a product and the steps that they need to go through, like doing your market research, doing a patent search, and you can do this all yourself and doing it very inexpensively, and I'm teaching them those steps, and they're going to get the at-bats with the companies, meaning be heard by the potential companies to license to based on what I'm teaching them. That's all I'm promising, that's all I can offer them.
It's really, really awesome, and it's great advice, and I think that in coaching, it's good to have a coach for a lot of different reasons, but even for the fact that if you're coaching them and they get stuck, you might even have a connection. It might not be a connection to license their product, but it might be a connection to get them to the next step, or a person to talk to for, you need to talk to this guy because he can do drawings for you or whatever. So,
yeah.
HowieInvent.com.